my name is Mrs. Anthony and I teach 5th grade at Pass Road Elementary in Gulfport School District. And today we are going to be talking about density. Density is one of the physical properties of matter, and we've talked about it before, but today we're going to dive a little bit deeper. So I hope you're ready to learn. Let's get started. I always like to address our standards that we're going to be talking about and our essential question before we get started so that we can keep that question in our mind as we go and be able to answer it by the end of the lesson. So our standards today, P.5.5A.4 and 5, and our essential question is, why do some objects sink while others float? So hopefully by the end of today's lesson you'll be able to answer that. So what is density? Density is how much space an object or substance takes up, that is its volume, in relation to the amount of matter in that object or substance. And the amount of matter in an object or substance is its mass. If an object is more dense than the liquid it is in or the substance that it's in, it will sink. If it is less dense than the liquid or substance that it's in, it'll float. The formula for solving for density is mass divided by volume. So that takes us back to our definition, the volume in relation to the mass. Mass divided by volume. So let's look at a scenario here and see if we can answer a couple questions about density. Another important property of matter is density. Density is the measure of how compact or close together the particles are in a certain material. For example, metals are very dense because the particles that make up the metals are very close together. However, a cork has particles that are more spread out, so it's less dense. Notice the difference in how compact the particles are in material X and material Y shown here. So we have material X, material Y. Our question asks us, which material is more dense, material X or Y? Well, I gave you the answer for these. It's material Y, and we can see the evidence. It asks us, what evidence do you see in the picture that supports your answer? Well, we can see that the particles shown in material Y are packed. They're much closer together than in material X. We can compare densities of different objects by placing them in water. As you can see in the bowl of water here, some objects sink when placed in water and some will float. If the object floats, that tells us that it is less dense than water. If the object sinks, then it is more dense than water. So it says, looking at the water bowl shown to the left, rank the three substances from least dense to most dense: water, block A, and block B. Well, we can see that block B is the least dense because it's floating on top of the water. Then we have, so now we have left the water in block A. Well, block A sank, so it must be the most dense, and that leaves the water in the middle. So from least dense to most dense, we have block B, water, and then block A. Now, we are going to watch a video that tells us a little bit more about density and kind of confirms some of the things that we've already learned today. So, let's watch.
Smart learning for all. Topic: density. Why does oil float on water? Don't know the answer? No worries. We shall find the solution. Suppose that a large log of wood floated on water, but a comparatively smaller piece of rock sank. How is this even possible? This is possible because of density. It is the measure of the mass of an object per unit volume. In the first case, the log of wood floats on water because it has less density than water. This means that the amount of mass present in unit volume of wood is less than the amount of mass present in unit volume of water. However, in the second case, the piece of rock sinks because it has more density than water. This means that the amount of mass present in unit volume of rock is more than the amount of mass present in unit volume of water. Do you know why the helium-filled balloon is rising up in the air? This is again because of density. The balloon consists of helium gas, which has less density than the surrounding air. Hence, it rises up. Here, have a look. Oil is floating on water. Are you assuming that this is because of density? Yes, you are right. Oil has less density than water, hence it floats. However, there is another reason due to which oil floats on water. The reason is that both oil and water are immiscible liquids. That is, they do not mix with each other even if we shake them. They separate out into two layers when kept undisturbed for some time.
Hey!
So we have watched our video on density, so I hope that helped you guys gain a better understanding. I always like to include videos because it's one thing to hear me talking and see my definitions, but I think it makes it a little bit easier to understand in video form. So we know what density is, and now we know why. Think about the video, the piece of wood floated while the rock sank. That's because the rock is more dense. The particles inside of the rock are more tightly packed together than the particles in the piece of wood. So think back to our essential question, why do some objects float while others sink? We now know that some objects are more dense than other objects. So before we go, I want to give you guys a little project. We are going to design a vessel. Your goal is to design a vessel that can safely transport 10 pennies across various distances in water. So think back to that video. Think about how one thing sank while another one floated, okay? Things to keep in mind. The mass of those pennies. Remember, density involves both mass and volume. So you're going to have to think about that as you're designing your vessel to carry across these 10 pennies. We also want to think about the material that you choose to create your vessel with. Can it support the mass of your pennies? Okay. I'm going to go and get started on mine. You go and get started on yours, and we'll see who can safely transport the 10 pennies. I hope you can. I hope you enjoyed today's lesson and learned a little bit about density. Thank you all so much for watching, and I can't wait to see you next time. Bye.